Hello, and welcome to the 64th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 8th of January. I am your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and attempt to stay in character while you are gathered at the meeting table. So, yes, we are going to be talking about being in character in a game, maybe how far is too far. And trying to stay focused while you're gaming and being in character. And we'll get more into that a little later on in the show here. But before we do that, I need to introduce the co-host, my second in command here. He is Glenn Bittner. He is a movie reviewer on his YouTube show, The B-Movie Bunker, and the creator of the RPG Mistrunner. How are you? That is all you, sir. I know your voice is a little rough today, so we're gonna try to take it easy on you. But otherwise, how you doing?
Doing all right.
How did
I'm doing all right.
Now, we've taken a little bit of a break here, especially with you being a manager of a gaming store. I'm sure that you were getting your ass handed to you with the Christmas holiday. How did things go?
They went okay. Could have been better, but could have also been worse. So, how's that for kind of
a non-committal yet slightly vague answer? That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I got a chance to go to a gaming store in Appleton called Chimera Games, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Oh yeah, I know Chimera. I know Bob, the owner.
And I really enjoy the people there at Chimera. And I was looking for a couple of things. I was looking for some Deadlands books. Turns out you're hard pressed to find them. I think the 20th anniversary that they kickstarted and released hopefully will kind of push that back onto shelves again. It's a very interesting system, and going through character creation in the Deadlands system it's really interesting. Very interesting mechanics with that game, and we'll talk more about it as time goes on, as I endeavor to run a Deadlands campaign. Probably won't be for another 2 or 3 weeks yet. We're finishing up a game in the Savage Worlds system that we're playing on Wednesday nights. So, which is a pretty interesting thing. And, we'll talk about that as time goes on as well. So, as always, we do a game review, which Glenn heads up here. We do a bit of a roundtable talk. We do a little bit of gaming news, and then we'll talk about our topic, which is being and or staying in character. So, with that, what game did you bring to us this week, Glenn?
Game? This is no game. This is a series of dangerous missions. I brought Star Trek Panic! Fireside and USAopoly, the two companies working together. Fireside, who made Castle Panic and Dead Panic and games like that. Justin DeWitt is the creator of this one, who made Castle Panic. It's 1 to 5 players. Plays in about 90-ish minutes. This is a cooperative light strategy game based on, if you have ever played any of the Castle Panic series, where you have the Enterprises in the center, and you have 6 sectors of enemies coming in and attacking you all the time. But this one changes up a bit, where you also have each player has a character, so you can be, Kirk or Spock or McCoy, all from the original series. And you also have challenges that you have to do based on the original Star Trek series. So, you might run into some some toddler who is, space toddler who's having a tantrum, who is trying to take over the ship. Stuff like that. So there's lots of these little things you have to deal with while also dealing with the enemies. So they're going to destroy your shields, they're going to start destroying your ship. And, the Enterprise is blown up all the time anyway, so we're used to that. It's a pretty cool game. It definitely relies a lot on working together as a team. You cannot go off on your own and try to do this. I mean, obviously you're playing one player, you have to, but I mean, you can't try to, do things all by yourself. You're trading cards with each other because certain attacks will only work at certain ranges. So if I have an attack that's only going to range 2, but there's no enemies at range 2 for me, I might want to trade with you to get your range 3 so I can use that so I can attack them. And then on the next turn when those things move forward, you'll be able to use the range 2 cards to get them.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty.
Now, for those folks who check us out on YouTube, we're using a slightly different system for a short period of time here. We're using BeLive, so I can't show the images like we normally do of the game. So I apologize for that. This new system does not have a way to do screen capture or screen share. Actually, I could have faked it had I. Now the hindsight being 2020, I could have used Manycam to do it. And next time I do this, we'll use Manycam so you can see stuff. But no, we're using. If you want to check this out, go to BoardGameGeek.com and look up Star Trek Panic. And yes, there is. As I look at this, there is a. Oh, is that a card? Yeah, it's a cardboard mini of the classic Trek that goes in the center of the board, and it is. It's elegant in its simplicity, is how I would describe it. The board actually looks like circular, like a circular range finder, like they've. It wasn't really radar, but you know what I'm saying. You get to see some of the circular space around the Enterprise, and that's where the action takes place. So it's a very interesting looking game, and there are ways to swap out parts of the Enterprise, it looks like, to show battle damage on it. Am I seeing that correctly, sir?
Yes, you get battle damage on the ship. So you have shields. There's actually big plastic pieces, too, that sit on the ship. Those can get destroyed. And then you actually take battle damage in the different sectors. The ship, each section can take 2 hits. So a shield can take 2 hits before it's gone. The ship sections can take 2 hits before they're destroyed. If you can make it to a starport, you can repair sections of the ship if you have the right stuff. You can even replace shields, but it's pretty hard to do because as you take damage, you can do less. So you might not be able to maneuver properly. And in starport, you have to be able to maneuver. You can't just...
Oh, sure.
So starport shows up, and you have to be able to move forward to get to it, which means you need to be able to change your facing. And if you take too much damage, you can't change your facing, which means if you're facing the wrong direction, you can't get to it.
Sure.
So that makes it a bit more challenging at times. I played this one 3 times over the last 2 weeks. The first time we almost lost. It's looking super dire, and we solved the final mission we needed to, and we won with 1 point. We had taken 1 more point of damage on the Enterprise. The other 2 games, we got our butts handed to us.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah, it was not good those times. Just because if you get the wrong combination of stuff, where you get that, you'll get those. There's ones where it's you just have these constant attacks happening to you, and you're trying to do things, but you've got the the space toddler who will do things where you can't change your facing. Well, now if you can't change your facing, well, great. Now what can't I do? I can't turn to fire at the guys I need to fire at if I don't have because you have firing arcs. So yep. It can be pretty darn weird at times trying to get everything to maneuver properly, and it just, oh my gosh, it just can drive you crazy at times.
Now, how many players does it support?
1 to 5.
Okay. And how long would you say an average game would take?
It's about 90 minutes.
Okay. Okay. And about what does it retail at approximately?
$40.
Okay. So that's, for 1 to 5 player. 1 player games are very, very interesting to me. Well, especially if you are unable to hang out with friends. I guess it's a way to pass some time. But there's usually some interesting changes to the rules to make it work for a single player. So, but for a 5-player game, $40, that's pretty decent. That sounds like something, especially if you're a classic Trek fan, that sounds like something you might want to put in your game library.
Sorry, it's definitely a fun one. I think out of all the Panic games, and I've played all 4 of the different Panic games, it's the one that I like the best.
Okay. And what about it? What makes it shine a little brighter than the others?
One, obviously, it's the theme. I'm a
sure.
Trekker. A Trekkie. I'm not buying this new mumbo Trekker joke. But also, I like the fact. Getting the characters. I like that. I like that when they did the Dead Panic, where you got the different characters where you could be, where you had special abilities. I like that addition. I like the shields, and I like the throwing in of the missions as well. It just makes it really, really unique. Which they've done a good job with all the Panic series, where they haven't just simply done a cut and paste. They've always done something to make the next one stand out in its own way.
Okay. Excellent. So Glenn's game that he reviewed is called Star Trek Panic from Fireside/USAopoly. Thank you very much for that, Glenn.
Absolutely, man. This is I was leery when I first saw it, because there's just there's so many games where they just cut and paste the theme on it. It's like, hey, this one's a Star Trek one. Now let's make a Firefly. And a lot of those at times, it's just they got a license and they have to use it. They just throw something together, and schmucks like us will buy it because we're like, oh, Star Trek, take my money. But they did a good job with this one.
No, very cool, very cool. Well, if folks want to follow this Galactic Network podcast on Twitter, hey, feel free. You can like our Facebook page or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can find us by searching for Galactic. Oh, geez, I got to change this. Yeah, you can look for us at Galactic Netcasts or Galactic Network on all of our major social networks, or you can click on the icons at gncasts.com. We are going to touch on a bit of news here, and we've talked a little bit about this in the past when we've talked about Star Wars, and Rogue One is kind of a deal, kind of a big deal, taking the box office by storm. And we've talked about West End Games, and West End Games being like the first version of the Star Wars RPG. Now, this story I actually found originally on Rolling Stone, but they actually got it from Glixel.com. And the title of this is How a Pen and Paper RPG Brought Star Wars Back from the Dead. Now, that's kind of a bold claim. But we're going to touch on some of the bits here. So starting off, imagine living in a time when it seemed like the Star Wars phenomenon had run its course. That's almost impossible to conceive of now or at any point in time in the last 25 years. Even in the 90s, before the prequels had been announced, or during that terrible drought between the prequels and The Force Awakens, there was still tie-in TV shows and comics and action figures and video games and Darth Tater, Mr. Potato Heads,
yes,
all helping to keep the franchise alive. Now, Like Disney's new generation of films, Dark Forces understood that nostalgia is the real force behind Star Wars. But there was a time when Star Wars was completely moribund. In the late 80s, the original film trilogy was a distant memory. Nothing. The kid-friendly TV specials were done, the Saturday morning cartoons had petered out, and there were no new novels or toys on the horizon. This was an era before every single intellectual property that had ever been vaguely popular, from Point Blank to Poltergeist, got recycled. At the end of the Reagan era, it genuinely seemed to many that the life cycle of George Lucas's film franchise had seen its day in the sun. That's why it was sort of crazy that West End Games, a maker of Dungeons & Dragons-style tabletop role-playing games, would spend a fortune to license Star Wars in 1986. The Star Wars game for West End, this gentleman remembers telling a friend who worked for Marvel Comics about the project, and he said, "Why would you make that? That's a dead license." We're going to shoot a little bit further ahead in the article here. Let's see. It was very crowded and competitive in the gaming industry in the mid-'80s. Dungeons & Dragons creator TSR was the major player. God, I remember going to Gen Con and just the huge TSR center focus point in Milwaukee in the Gen Con was just absolutely amazing. A sight to behold. The good old days. Before making a bid for Star Wars, West End had success with original RPGs like the dystopian sci-fi comedy Paranoia, which I highly recommend, and an adaptation of Ghostbusters. Let's see. We flew out to California to meet with Lucasfilm. We made a bid of $100,000. We later learned that TSR had tried to get the license too, but they only bid $70,000. Now, the people at Lucasfilm didn't seem to think that the franchise was dead at that point. Lucas's original vision had called for 9 films after all. But they were fully aware that Star Wars was essentially in hibernation, as if frozen in carbonite. Let's see. Well, they obviously won the bid, and they set to work on creating the rule book for Star Wars, the role-playing game. Their work would be a crowning achievement in some people's careers for everyone that worked on the project, but it was just a side note for the lead, Kostakian. And he would go on to create influential and innovative tabletop, PC, mobile, and social games in a variety of genres. He won a game. Oh, that's enough of that. Blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the good part here. He had a couple of design objectives. Unlike most RPGs, he knew that they weren't selling purely to people who are already into D&D. This needed to be a simpler paradigm. He focused on the most intense and memorable moments in the films. Droids trying to walk across a corridor in the middle of a pitched battle, pursuing their own secret agenda while laser blasts ricocheted around them. Now, West End Games designers were divided up the different types of characters in the film into different classes. The Laconic Scout being one class that I ended up playing. It was a fun gaming system. Now, West End was the first, and they're on their third different company to own the license, correct?
I think so.
Yeah, the 3 seems right. To be honest, I had a lot of fun playing the West End game system. And God, if you could find it, if you can find a copy of that and give it a go, I think that you would enjoy it too. I'm sure that the new system is just fine. But to if you're a fan of some of the original stuff, try to find a copy of it, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. It was a lot of fun. Now, gosh, they say that it breathed life into the... It was a good way for gamers, it was a great way to keep it, from being on the back burner of the mind. But I would say a lot of gamers were probably into Star Wars. So I'm not sure this... I really feel like the title is kind of clickbaity for this article. But it is a long and detailed article, and we will have the link in the show notes. And the original... we got this from Glixel.com. Now, we've talked about this a little bit before. You have played the West End system?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Love the West End system. Played the hell out of the West End system.
It was really, at that point in time, I would agree with part of the assertion of the article that you got an opportunity to play new adventures in that world. We had 3 movies at that point, and we weren't sure if we were going to ever see any more. So it was a great way to create something new. Yeah, you could read the books and some of the comics that were out there, but to kind of get in there and actually play in that world was a lot of fun. So, and like I said, they have a new system out now, and I'm not knocking it. I want to. Is it D20? Is it a variation of D20?
Own dice. Uses its own type of dice.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
okay.
It has their own funky. Yeah, it's their own dice.
So proprietarial dice. Okay. There you go. Anyway, yeah, like I said, if you're an old school gamer, if you can find a copy of you could probably find it on eBay. If you can pick it up at a decent price, a price that's good for you, do so and give it a try, because it's a hell of a lot of fun. All right. Well, if you like what you've heard on this Galactic Network podcast, please consider helping us out financially by going to gncasts.com/support. On that page, you'll find links to our Patreon campaign, where you can make a small recurring monthly pledge of as little as $1. Or you can click on our Amazon affiliate link, make a purchase, and we get a very small percentage from that sale. Again, go to gncasts.com/support. The Kickstarter Spotlight. Since we're talking about Kickstarter, I had an opportunity to start to play Tiny Epic Western, which I gotta say, we looked at a couple of playthrough videos, and they made that game sound so damn convoluted. We were almost afraid to start playing. There are a lot of interesting mechanics to the game, but really once you start actually playing, it's not as daunting as it kind of seems. So one of the videos was so painful to watch because he changed course. Well, we could do this. Oh, well, this would be a smarter play. And we're just like, oh, for the love of God, just pick something and go. Even if it's wrong, play through it and just, do the thing. And it was painful. It made me sad. So anyways, we got to not quite play a full game of it for personal reasons. Actually, that's when Alex had his seizure. Yeah. So anyway, so we did get to play it a little bit, and I'm glad that I picked it up because it's a lot of fun. And Tiny Epic Western, they've got, I can't remember the name of the company. I feel bad.
I remember it. I should know this too because they sell their games.
Gamelin Games.
Yes.
I feel bad. I'm sorry, Gamelin Games. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
My job to know this stuff.
Well, you weren't selling it to me or anybody else, so you're off the hook. No worries, dude. But yeah, I did want to mention that that was interesting, and we talked about Tiny Epic Western. I want to say probably around episode 40. It was in the early 40s. So yeah, give that a go. And I did manage to get Mashed came out. I got the PDF copy. I will be getting the soft cover once they've gone to print. And I have yet to look through everything and get a feel for the system, but I was just so jazzed to get it. And just they have a wonderful setup. A lot of the companies that do like the PDF, when they release the PDFs, they'll give you like a code and then they tie into like RPGnow.com or DriveThruRPG, essentially the same thing. And very handy, nice, clean system to use. And downloaded everything for it. And yeah, I'm really, really jazzed to look through it. So I just wanted to kind of mention some of the Kickstarters that we've talked about previously that have come out and that we've kind of gotten a chance to play around with a little bit. So anyways, on to our Kickstarter spotlight. Now, last week, sorry, I say last week, our last meeting of the Adventure Party, we talked about Old World leather gaming mats for RPG metal dice rolling. And that, I'm going to pull this up here. God, I wish I could do screen share. I feel really bad about that. They were looking to get $300, and they ended up getting just under 9,000, 163 backers. And this was they were leather mats that you could roll your dice on, especially metal dice. And, and the cool thing about it is you get a leather strap. So you could roll up the mat, put a leather strap around it, and it just looks really freaking awesome. And at higher levels, you could get like a matching leather dice bag for your metal dice too. So this was done by the Copper Kingdom, and they successfully funded their Kickstarter. Now, you have a new Kickstarter for us to talk about. Let us know, what is this?
So, I have to remember what I picked. Twilight. It's Twilight of the Gods. Yes, of course. Twilight of the Gods. It's a new deck builder where you are playing as a deity, fighting amongst other deities, trying to basically retain your space as a deity up in the pantheon. It looks really cool. They look like they've done something kind of different with the classic deck builder. It's just it looks super customizable. It's set like middle of the 5th century. So gods are dying, and you're basically during the fall of the Roman Empire. So all these gods are trying to fight for their whatever scraps they have left. Looks really cool. I mean, you can get in on it for $39, and it gets you a copy with all the stretch goals. That's insane. Yeah. Absolutely insane. Looking to set it out in 2017 to September. They were looking for $15,000. They've already got 46. So you know that they're going to have it.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, this is an expandable card game, but it is not a collectible card game.
It's expandable, yeah.
And as I was doing the read-through on this, they're going to release, or their plans are to release different ages. Now, this particular deck, the Age of Revelation, happens during the Roman gods during the fifth century, and they are going to, it looks like, do different eras, do different ages, and have different pantheons of gods. So that should be really fascinating. Like we said, this is Roman, so I would anticipate Norse. I would anticipate probably a Greek set, Egyptian. I mean, there's a lot of room to play around in with this type of setup. So, what are your thoughts besides it being affordable? It looks pretty cool.
And I like stuff. I mean, I'm a mythology buff, so I like the fact with the gods. And they don't start off with just the typical ones. There's like a Mesopotamian one in here to start. There's there's Greek, Roman, and a druidic goddess.
So like Celt?
An interesting mix to start this out.
Sure. No, that's awesome. So it looks like they're saying it takes approximately 20 to 30 minutes to play, and it's good for 2 to 4 players. So very interesting. And it would be interesting to see as they, if they're able to make more expansions, if they can accommodate more players or how that would work. Kickstarter exclusive Cthulhu. Boy, do they know who they're reaching out to.
They know what they're doing.
And the artwork on that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, man. So, oh, Lord. Because they have kind of kicked the crap out of their goal numbers here. Let's see, where are they at? 46. So at this point, they've added a Shinto god. They've added a Sumerian goddess. They've added an Aztec god. They've added an Egyptian goddess. Let's see. I am not familiar with that pantheon. There's an Armenian goddess, a Chinese god. Oh! Nyarlathotep. So we've got H.P. Lovecraft in the house. And, oh my God. So their next 1, 2, 3, 4 gods. We've got Azathoth, which is H.P. Lovecraft. We've got Dagon, H.P. Lovecraft. Shub-Niggurath, H.P. Lovecraft. And Yog-Sothoth. So, yeah, and those are going to be Kickstarter exclusives. So basically, once this goes to retail, all the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, gone. You're not going to have access to that. So if you are an H.P. Lovecraft fan, now's the time. And for $39, come on, that's ridiculous. Yeah. That is absolutely ridiculous. And it looks like, and you mentioned the estimated delivery is September. So you'll have about 8 months to wait. But, boy, this looks really cool. And well worth the price. Okay, well, we are going to move on to our discussion, which is we're going to talk about staying in character in games. How much is too much? It's really interesting when you talk about, especially role-playing, you can either be kind of a method actor, somebody who is like, they're the character. They've created their character and they want to take on the characteristics of the character and they use an accent and everything. And then you have the somewhat non-committal players who aren't willing to go that far, but still enjoy role-playing. Neither is right or wrong. It's however you want to play. As Glenn is fond of saying, we're not the arbiters of your fun.
We are not.
But to me, there are times where staying in character really can help focus a game, and there are probably times when assuming a character can get a little out of hand at points. So we want to talk about that. Now, I would like to have you kind of give some of your thoughts on this. As a person who has run a lot of role-playing games and have played in few, you have more of a perspective, because I haven't run nearly as many games as you have. What are your thoughts as a GM about being and staying in character?
I'm a fan of it. I like when players do that. I don't require it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if people aren't comfortable, because not everyone can do it. That's fine. Those that do, great. I think it you have to make sure that the whole group is into it, or at least accepting of it, because sometimes you'll get someone who doesn't. Some people who just don't care for that. They think it's silly or goofy or whatever. And as long as the group's all for it, doesn't mean you all have to do it. Just as long as everyone's accepting of it, I think it can really add to the overall element. Plus, you get to see it. Get to hear everyone's really bad English and Scottish accents, because that's apparently the only way any of us know how to do it.
I gotta say, as much as I enjoy being in character, a poor accent is like nails on a chalkboard to me. And I don't do accents because I know how bad I am at them, and I don't want to pull people out of the game, because I know it kind of pulls me out of the game when somebody does an accent poorly. How do you feel about that?
I think it's all right. Not everyone can do it really well. I mean, I don't even think it's so much an accent. I mean, it's just also just being in character and like not. A big thing is staying in character also means you're not metagaming.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's something that I think we should talk about too. Is being in character also kind of means trying to separate you from somebody that would be in that particular situation, the character you're playing. And when you talk about, okay. So I was telling you that Wednesday nights we're playing Savage Worlds, and essentially we're playing in the world of Sleepy Hollow. Ichabod Crane, the Headless Horseman, all that. And I'm playing a character who is he's a detective sort of person. And it's really hard at certain points not to, especially when the party's broken apart and somebody else learns something that your character is not there for, that can be really hard not to, throw that information into a conversation, because, I mean, you're hearing it at the table, even if your character is not there. And metagaming is really poor form.
Yeah.
So when you're in a situation like that, where you catch somebody metagaming, essentially they're playing the character, but they're also taking the knowledge that their character wouldn't have. How do you deal with that as a GM?
How do I deal with what? There was some weird beep there, right in the middle of what you said.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry.
It might be on my end. My mic is being kind of funny.
Okay. No, I was just saying that as a GM, when we in a situation where your party has split apart and somebody else's character gets information that your character probably needs but does not have access to until those characters get back together, that can be kind of hard to separate. Because you want to continue the story, you want to accomplish the thing, whatever that thing might be in the game. How do you deal with catching somebody metagaming?
It depends how badly they do it. The biggest transgressions are when someone is trying to give advice when they're not even there.
Sure.
It's, you're not there, you're getting drunk, that kind of thing. It's those things I try to squash right away. I'm like, I tell them right out, you're not there, you can't talk right now.
Yeah.
And generally people are good with that. Sometimes they're not, and I've done weird things where it's, I'm not ashamed to pick on someone later on when it comes to combat because they don't know how to not metagame after being warned numerous times.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were in a situation where we're trying to solve this mystery, and I'm like, oh God, my character really needs to know that, and I hope somebody, you get really excited at certain points, and then you have to kind of stop yourself and go, oh, hey, hang on a second. How do I... But then try to get into a situation where somebody remembers to tell your character that particular important piece that could tie a lot of things up.
True.
So, again, staying in character without trying to... It's such a weird separation, when you're role-playing, being a different character, but trying not to take your real-world knowledge and experience and assign that to a character that might not necessarily have that type of knowledge.
Yeah. Especially if you're like a GM, or a DM, and you have experience being a DM, knowing that, I don't know how many hit points this creature should have. I don't know that as a player. I mean, if I've fought a creature before, that's fine. But if I haven't, I mean, that's strict knowledge I should not have.
Yeah. Yeah, which can be even more interesting if you're playing with folks that have played a lot in a particular system or have GM'd a lot. And have been through like bestiaries and stuff like that. So they know, and especially the people that are really good with numbers and they can remember stats for creatures, that can get, as a GM, certain folks that do that can be kind of hard to deal with. Especially with a rules lawyer kind of person. That can be hard to manage at certain points. What are some ways that you would recommend people to find a way to get into character or find a character?
I think it helps if you actually have a backstory and not just, where you grew up or what happened. Have motivations for your character, have things that they want to accomplish. Give them an actual personality other than just, ranger or, dwarf fighter. Give them something beyond that. So that you have something that, why do they act the way they do? What's their behavior like other than, and give reasons for why they act that way, not just simply that's how they are. Why do they act that way? There's got to be a reason. If someone's always a jerk, there's a reason they're a jerk. There's a reason someone's nice. There's a reason someone does specific things. And if you have reasons for why you act a specific way, it really helps build that character. If you have a backstory and a history and things that have happened to you and things that have shaped you as a person in the game, that really helps, I think, get you into the character of it.
No, absolutely. What I've been kind of working on the Dirgewood, the campaign for White Wolf Hunters Hunted 2, the 20th anniversary stuff. And I've actually found a couple of books on like great train robberies and books about cowboys. The types of skills that they have, things like that, to try to get a more authentic feel to what and this is like a post Civil War Western, like it takes place in the Arizona Territory, or it will take place in the Arizona Territory. But you've heard of Adam Ruins Everything, which is
Yes.
a true,
Yeah.
And I saw like the teaser for the one on the Wild West, and it really kind of opened my eyes to, so a lot of what we think of in the Wild West is actually a stereotype. The madams in towns usually had a great deal of power, and in a lot of cases authority. Like the houses of ill repute were the ones that usually had the schools funded and built. There's a lot of interesting things that through research you can, as a GM, from that aspect, to try to build a better world for your players to play around in, but also as a player to get a good idea of, okay, I have a general idea of what my character would be, the skills that they have, what they do, but how they do it and how they act and who they are can really be helped by research to get into character. Now, I'm not saying you need to, find 50 books and read them, but a little bit of research might help make the game a little bit more immersive. Is that?
Sure.
Would you say that that's true?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, that doesn't rule out doing a one-shot and somebody hands you a character and goes, okay, you're going to play this character. Well, you're probably not going to have time to do the research. In that particular case, you do the best you can with what you know and what you got. But to make that because I think at the end of the day, if you're doing a role-playing game, you really kind of want to have an immersive experience where you really kind of feel like you're there and doing the thing in that particular situation, that time period, whatever the case may be, whatever genre you're playing. But research, I think, would go a long way to make it more immersive. We talked a little bit about accents. We've talked about research. We've talked about backstory.
About cloaks.
What's that?
So we haven't talked about cloaks.
We haven't.
Who would wear a cloak every time to game?
Fair enough. And you know what? If that works for you to get into character, God bless. Do the thing.
It's all about having fun. If that's how you have fun, go for it.
Yeah. And if somebody doesn't like it, well, they're probably an asshole anyway. So, fuck them. You do you, and have a good time. Because life is short. We only get a short period of time to do it. You should have as much fun as you possibly can without hurting other people. And if wearing a cloak is going to help, by God, wear the cloak. The staff, you might have to draw the line at a staff. but a cloak seems pretty harmless. Is there anything else that we're missing here in working on staying in character? Like, what do you think? Clothing, props? We talk about the cape, the cloak.
The hard thing with props and stuff is to prevent it from becoming a distraction.
Yeah. I mean, in this day and age, I mean, back when we used to role play, you didn't have the phones to distract you, and that's tough enough as it is. Playing a game and somebody's on the internet and screwing around and not paying attention, and then when it's their turn, especially in combat, dear God.
Oh.
Especially if you're playing like a mage character or a cleric where you have to have spells prepped or you need to be really paying attention to what's going on. And yeah, the phone enough it can be a major distraction. Yeah, props can hurt too. I guess, if you kind of have it there for show, but not necessarily available for people to touch and distract them, I think that would be okay. But yeah, there's a fine line between augmentation and distraction that really needs to be managed as a game master. Yeah, and I mean, clothing is a pretty harmless yet a good immersive way to get and feel in character and be mindful of focusing on the game. So yeah, I could see that. And that doesn't mean you need to spend $1 zillion on clothes. Maybe you're playing a steampunk game and you get a pair of goggles or you get a hat. Something that, you could be as elaborate as you want, I guess. But something as a simple reminder, I think that would be a cool thing too, to help stay in character. All right. Is there anything else that we're missing here, do you think?
I'm sure we are, but I can't think of what that is.
Well, tell you what, folks, if you're listening to this or viewing this and you think of something that, those jerks forgot to mention this, you can contact us by email at adventure@gncasts.com. Or you can, you can call us at 805-328-3966, and you can leave a voicemail. Also, if you go to gncasts.com, there is a link that you can click in the lower left-hand corner, and it's an icon for you to, especially if you have a microphone attached to your computer or laptop or your device, you can leave a voice message through that, and that is sent to us, and we'll gladly talk about that and mention it in the episode that we happen to be in, where you've given us that feedback. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. All right. Well, speaking of which, if you want to chat with other folks, like the hosts or other listeners of this Galactic Network podcast, 24 hours a day, because we have Daryl Johnston, who lives in UK, who is 6 hours into the future. You can chit-chat with us there. You can go to gncasts.com/signup, and we can add you to our Slack team, and you'll have the ability to interact with us in real time. Now, two of myself and a host of the Podcast of Terror, Matt, our business, we work in IT and internet, and we use Slack for work. So we have Slack up, and throughout the workday, we'll be there, so you can chit-chat with us. So again, you can go to gncasts.com/signup. Now, for more on this podcast, you can go to gncasts.com/adventure, and you can check out show notes, contact information, and other things that we've mentioned in this particular episode. Let's see. Oh, hey, you can subscribe to this Galactic Network podcast by going to gncasts.com/subscribe, or you can search for us in iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, which is cool, or anywhere podcasts are offered. And I want to thank you, Glenn, for once again spending time with us and talking about something involving games. Where can people find out more about you or Mistrunner?
More about me?
Yes.
Find out more about me on Facebook, just myself, or Guy in a Bunker Productions, B Movie Bunker, Mistrunner the RPG. Find me at mistrunner.com. Also find me at guyinabunker.com, or just follow me on Twitter at Guy in a Bunker.
There you go. And you can find me on Twitter at bludwig, or Bloodwig, as the case may be. I'm also on Facebook and Facebook quite a bit. Don't do too much on Snapchat or Instagram, but yeah, Facebook, Twitter, that's where I'm at. Facebook, gosh, I think I got the quote-unquote vanity, facebook.com. What am I? Boy, that's an existential question. Ludwig.Brad. There you go. Facebook.com/Ludwig.Brad, and you can find all the crazy stuff that I do there. Post a lot of pictures and whatnot. And try to find some news and interesting bits in especially science and gaming related stuff. So there you go. I want to thank every one of you for either listening or watching the adventure party here. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Thank you and good night.